Well, you can't let a kid make those decisions. You can't make those decisions for a kid. They're too young. Yeah, the idea that a child who's 6 years old or whatever would know the consequences, but them saying that 18 is too late and that it's not, that they would disagree with your primary care physician, that it's too young based on the research that I've done. What fucking research have you done where you can clearly point that it's a good idea to transition a 6-year-old?
It seems people overwhelmingly feel the procedure of transitioning the body from one sex to the other is highly inappropriate for children. However, gender identity is an issue that persists in some children, so it's a matter worth looking into. In order for someone to be transgender, they must be diagnosed with gender dysphoria, which is defined as when a person's perceived gender identity does not match their biological sex. Since the disorder is one of the mind, children who exhibit signs are referred to psychologists. In this video, I'll be including 3 transgender children to get an understanding of the transition process. Jennings was one of the youngest publicly documented transgender children. His show, I Am Jazz, chronicles his medical transition from male to transgender female. When Jazz was 2 years old, his mother observed her toddler son gravitated toward conventional female toys and activities. According to the family, this began before he could speak. Once he could speak and was persistent with the idea that he was a girl, his mother took him to a psychologist. The child was diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and Jazz began socially transitioning to a female at the age of 3. Before Jazz reached puberty, he was given hormone blockers, and then later was started on cross-sex hormone therapy, where he was given estrogen to experience female puberty. Since his body didn't go through natural male puberty, his genitals did not fully develop. When it came time for Jazz to have his gender confirmation surgery, his surgeons used part of his stomach lining, in addition to skin from his penis, to create a vagina. There were complications with the surgery due to tension, and his vagina unraveled out of the cavity, thus requiring him to undergo emergency surgery. Josie Romero is a transgender child who appeared in documentaries that chronicle the lives of children, specifically in the social transition period. A scene from one of the later documentaries shows a conversation Josie has with his mother. In it, the boy seems to feel guilt for expressing mixed feelings about his gender identity. He also expresses an abstract view on his mother's authority and how it relates to his gender identity.
But Josie and her mother never doubted it was the right thing until an unexpected conversation happened one afternoon.
But on the inside, where nobody else can see,
Yeah.
are you a boy or are you a girl?
Maybe I'm a boy inside and a girl outside.
Really?
Yeah, is that true?
Only you know the answer to that. So if you wanted to grow up to be a man,
Yeah.
would you tell me?
Yeah.
Hey, if you wanted to grow up and be a man, you could.
I want to be... Sometimes I think I'm a boy, sort of, but I want to be a girl.
Yeah.
Would you love me if I'm a boy?
Of course. I would love you no matter what. I always have, and I always will.
It was the first time Vanessa ever heard Josie sound uncertain.
I feel like maybe there's a part of you that's afraid to tell me what you really want. What if I said, oh, please don't be a girl?
So I guess I'll be a boy.
No, honey.
I need to listen to you and my mom.
In 1965, Bruce Reimer was born alongside his brother Brian. The twins were born to their parents in Winnipeg, Canada. During a routine circumcision, Bruce's penis was burned severely beyond recover. Devastated by the accident, his parents were referred to Dr. John Money. John Money was part of the faculty at Johns Hopkins University as a clinical psychologist and was not formally trained as an endocrinologist. He was interested, though, in sexual identity and had conducted research on intersex individuals who were at the time termed as hermaphrodites. Following Money's recommendation, baby Bruce was medically transitioned and raised as a female. Money urged the parents to keep Bruce's true gender unknown from him, otherwise the transition would not work. Bruce, now Brenda, unsurprisingly had an extremely difficult time living his life as a female. To document his experiment, Money would regularly meet with the Reimer twins and record their interactions. Realizing the issues Brenda was having accepting himself as a female, Money allegedly had the twins rehearse sexual acts in order for him to develop healthy adult gender identity.
It is alleged that he now resorted to drastic measures.
Now, how do you tell the difference between a girl and a boy?
This is the one part of the film not based on existing transcriptions, and it is not clear precisely when this interview may have taken place. It is based on accounts given by the twins, who were both present.
Now, take your clothes off.
No.
Take your clothes off.
No.
I want to make you understand what I'm getting at. Now take your clothes off.
No.
Move, come on, move. Take your clothes off now. Good. Now, what's the difference? Look down there. What does Brian have? A penis. Right. And what do you have?
Flat is flat.
That's right. That's how you know you're a girl.
When Brenda was 7, Money's final attempt to complete the transition was to suggest the creation of a vaginal cavity. Brenda threatened to take his life if he was made to keep meeting with Money. Finally, out of desperation to help their son, his parents revealed the truth about his gender, and the boy transitioned back into a male. Now, David was happy to be living in reality, and the nightmare of being forced to live as a female was over. However, the publications John Money released, deeming the Reimer experiment a success, prompted David Reimer's mission to expose Money. Obviously, there is a difference between David Reimer and children who voluntarily undergo transitioning procedures. The truth is, there is no test that can definitively determine that a child is transgender. Two important factors should be taken into account when dealing with transgender children. One is that the majority of children who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria outgrow the diagnosis. And two, children are not capable of understanding the lasting long-term effects of the transition, such as infertility.
Doctors are concerned about the potentially unknown long-term effects of treatment. Do you ever worry that kids will grow up to regret their decision?
I think that is absolutely the largest concern that we have about doing anything that's potentially irreversible.
You're always going to see people that are going to say, well, the Dave Reimer case could have been successful. I'm living proof. And if you're not going to take my word as gospel, because I have lived through it, who else are you going to listen to? Is it going to take somebody to wind up killing themselves, shooting themselves in the head for people to listen?
Sadly, this was the case for David Reimer and his brother Brian. In 2004, David Reimer was found dead in his truck due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Support for transitioning children with gender dysphoria include high suicide rates among transgender individuals. Most parents fear losing their children as a result of not allowing them to transition. Mental health is key with individuals who suffer this condition. An acceptance of reality should be encouraged more than potentially unfulfilling procedures that may not relieve symptoms. Dr. Van Meter is an endocrinologist who has worked with transgender individuals for over 40 years. Meter was a colleague of Dr. John Money at Johns Hopkins and argues that the guidelines to treat transgender individuals is not mostly based on science.
Only 3 meet any degree of scientific validity according to a standard scale used to create these guidelines. It's used sort of internationally. The remainder of them were based on very little science or absolutely no science whatsoever.
Also, according to Dr. Van Meter, John Money was part of the 3 musketeers who were pioneers in transgender medicine.
Now you hear over and over again, the American College of Pediatricians is a tiny, racist, bigoted, homophobic group from the South. They're all religious zealots. The American Academy of Pediatrics, whose membership is now upwards of 65,000 members of pediatricians and pediatric healthcare providers otherwise, endorses affirmation of transgender and treatment as guidelines of endocrine society say. How in the world can 66,000 pediatricians fall behind something that is so absolutely out of control. Why did the American Psychological Association take out gender identity and make it gender dysphoria? Don't these thousands and thousands and thousands of professional individuals understand that there should be some kind of balance, and there should be a little give and take, and perhaps two opinions stated, or at least admit that there's another opinion that should be considered? How it happens is that the general membership is allowed to have special interest groups, and the special interest groups are a tiny fraction of the membership, and they have a bee in their bonnet. They have a cause that they want to go for. Then that special interest group interacts with the executive committee that governs all of the decisions of policies made for the huge membership. In the American Academy of Pediatrics, that executive committee is 15 people. Membership, 66,000. So those 15 people listen to the special interest group, and all of a sudden, it's adopted by the entire society as if 66,000 people agree. And that's published. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychological Association, the American Association of Family Practitioners, the Endocrine Society all agree, and they're professional societies, and by God, the medical world totally supports this, and you fanatic, crazy Southern religious bigots are a small splinter group, and we shouldn't listen to you.